We are down by Soy Eu Tua here at Upper East Coast Road, and we have a very special guest today on Wana Makan. Now, it's fair to say that we all love sports, but it may not be as vibrant right here in Singapore, but there is a man tasked to grow the scene of sport here in Singapore, and he is the Minister for Culture, Community and Youth, Mr. Edwin Tong, and he is waiting for lunch. So let's not keep him waiting. Let's go and check it out. Okay, so we have Edwin. Thank you so much for having this episode with us.
Thanks for joining me.
First time here at Soy Eu Tua. Why this place? And I know this gentleman is looking eagerly. Is this the place to be?
This is amongst the best chicken rice you can find anywhere in Singapore. And you have a range of options here in this stall, from here to bak chor mee, to carrot cake, and of course the non-year delicacies. Okay. All very, very good.
Alright, so chicken rice is the dish.
Chicken rice the dish. His roast pork also very good.
Okay. Yeah, so chicken rice. Yeah.
Okay, uncle.
Okay. Thank you.
I've ordered for us, so you can settle up.
Okay.
This is Mr. Big Kodo. Hello. Boss not here. Mr. Big Kodo not here. You go back already? Okay. But he does carrot cake.
Alright.
And
carrot cake.
the oyster is very nice to hear. The owner of this place is called Mr. Big Kodo.
Okay, why?
Okay. He's Mr. Big Kodo. Later I'll show you a picture of him.
Okay.
He is a flamboyant character. What's best about him is, look at this.
Oh wow, I just realized that.
Yeah,
okay.
so you down and out, COVID, lost your job, underprivileged, low income, he just comes here, no questions asked, and he gives you.
That is fantastic. Oh wow, I never seen anything like that.
These are the people we have here in Joo Chiat.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Nasi Padang is a very nice Nasi Padang. He's very busy now, I don't want to disturb him, but look at him, he's sold out even before lunch is over. Okay, this is my favorite Nasi Ulam stall. Boss here also very busy.
Hi.
Nasi Ulam always gets sold out. I think today only left one box. No more already, one box.
Then 3/4 of a box, it's sold out already.
Sold out already, yeah. So
what is Nasi Ulam? I've never heard.
Nasi Ulam.
Chicken rice,
It's very healthy. Made with, I think, about almost 20 different herbs. 17. Yeah.
Okay. Is it like a secret recipe for you, or? Yes.
So maybe you can try it. If not, then we come back for the chendol later.
Yes, chendol, definitely. Alright, thank you so much.
Boss, thanks. Okay,
Alright,
come,
so
you can sit down.
Let's have a seat.
Hello. 你好，你好。等一下我们叫咖啡啊。
Okay, so Minister Edwin Tong, or how do people
Just
usually?
call me Edwin, please. You and I go back quite a long way.
Okay, Edwin. We want to talk about food, and we'll talk about sport as well. So, in terms of food, what kind of food did you have growing up? What were your favorites?
I love Indian food. Yeah. I love Indian food. So I grew up enjoying all forms, Southern Indian, Northern Indian. That's my favorite. But at home, I'm very traditional. I come from a Cantonese family, so very traditional Cantonese food. Lots of soups.
And did you kind of like learn these dishes growing up? Are you a good cook?
I can cook.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, quite good.
Are you? So what's your specialty?
I do all forms. I can do local dishes. So fried Hokkien noodle. I can do crab bee hoons. Okay. I can do the Western dishes, pasta. Steaks and all.
Also, you go from just local food to like steaks or Western kind of food.
I find it harder to cook the Indian foods here at home because you need all the forms of spices, and each spice makes a difference. So you can't get it so easily. So I don't do that as often.
And for your kids, do you like make them breakfast on Saturdays and Sundays when they wake up and like they smell the aroma?
I teach them how to do it for me and my wife.
Okay. And we know that, I know your daughter, and we covered the ASEAN Schools Games last year in Semarang. So she's a budding tennis star. Tell us a little bit more about her because...
No, don't say that she's a star. She'll go all big-headed. But she's a keen tennis player.
Okay.
She's 14 and she's doing reasonably well, plays in the circuit. And in fact, as we speak, she's competing in the ITF that's on now. She won a match yesterday and now in the next round today.
Okay. And is it something that you've pushed your kids to do, or did they just naturally just get into sport?
I've got 3 girls, so we gave them all an opportunity to be in sports because I believe in the value of sports. I think it teaches young people something that they can't learn in classrooms, can't learn in a normal setting. So I've given them an opportunity to do that as much as they can and see where it takes them. So my youngest one has been quite keen on tennis.
Okay.
And I'm glad because it gives her something else outside of school to do.
And how about yourself? Did you take part in any sport while you were growing up? Were you close to ever being professional in anything?
I cannot lah. I went to St. Michael's. Today is SGI Junior,
Okay.
and then after that SGI. It's got a very strong sporting tradition, especially in football.
Okay.
And so I was never good enough to be in the first team, football. They've always been winning. But when we were growing up, we were exposed to a whole range of sports. So interclass sports is, you play badminton, you play volleyball, table tennis, sepak takraw, football, hockey.
Yeah.
And so we grew up that way and very much miss that kind of environment today. I think kids are trying to specialize too early.
You grew up in an era where there were great football talents in Singapore,
Tremendous.
right? Like, so who do you remember watching growing up, or were you actually playing with during inter-school against some household names that we know very well today?
I was never privileged enough to play against our top players, but I grew up in an era where Singapore football was something to really cherish. I was often at the National Stadium during Malaysia Cup time, and you had 55,000 fans in the Malaysia Cup match at National Stadium. You tell that to a fan today, it's hard to believe.
Yeah.
That we were once like that, and I think we need to find a way to get back to that. But I'm sure you've experienced being in the National Stadium when you watch our local boys, Sundram, Pandi,
Yeah.
and even the range of talent we had there was just tremendous. And even our foreign boys, Abbas, Alistair, Jang Jung, and subsequently Precious and Mustafiq,
Yeah.
all coming on board and making the Singapore team so special is something we want to recreate.
That's a sore point with many because there are people who want football in Singapore and for the national team to be local footballers, and then there's an argument of perhaps foreign talent should be incorporated to improve the Singapore national team, and we've seen other countries do it as well. Where do you stand on that?
So I think we must build a strong Singapore base, and I think we need to start with our grassroots, our kids in school. And when we look at foreign talent, I think they must first be Singaporean.
Yeah.
First be capable of being a Singaporean, be part of our society. And then the football that they bring to the table must be a bonus. And then those are people we want to recruit. Because we don't want people to come in and, in a sense, be a mercenary footballer. You
Yeah.
come in, take the passport, play a couple of games, few years, few seasons, and then you go off after that. And I think that's not what we want. We want it to be long-term. And the players that we have here, you take Duric as an example, came over, played very well in the Singapore team, and now continues to give back to Singapore football. And I think these are the kind of talents that we want to bring into Singapore.
How's your time at FAS? What memories do you have as the Vice President?
Truth be told, it was a challenging period. We went to probably our lowest world ranking in that period of time. So we are very disappointed with how football has panned out. But it hasn't dampened the spirit. And I think the council was very single-minded in wanting to bring it back. So we started with a number of things, beginning with the league. So we put in the SPL. And our belief is that having a professional league in this way, uplifting it, and eventually finding a way to privatize it, run it professionally is the way to go. And then bring our players on board. We started with the dream of having younger players play more in the league to give them more exposure, more playing time. And in the longer term, we want to really bring in clubs that can really challenge in Asia. Start with Asia, AFC, and then maybe beyond that. But let's start with those steps. And I think the incoming Lion City Sailors has been a good step.
Yeah, that's the big talking point, Lion City Sailors. Talking about the young players, and I know in a previous interview you did mention about the young players. I think we're seeing the fruits of it now because they're being put in a professional setting, but we're seeing some real stars come out of it. And is that the plan? Because they might be in a club where they might not be able to just break through, but now they're given the opportunity to play in a professional setting, and then they blossom from that.
Absolutely. You just take a leap out of world football. The best young players today are coming through and developing. They show their talent when they're 18, 19.
Yeah.
You look at the Rashfords of this world, you look at the current Liverpool crop, many of them grew up from a very early age with the club, and 17, 18, you knew that they were going to be stars.
Yeah.
So we have to also similarly be able to talent spot in the same way here. And we must give our boys opportunity. You think when SPL resumed, you remember who scored for Tampines? A 17-year-old boy. He scored, it was 1-0 against, who did they play? I forget, Alkang.
Yeah.
Right, but it was a 17-year-old boy. So would he be given a chance if we didn't have this profile in the league? No. So I'm hopeful that we are able to bring in a whole pipeline of future talent.
What were some of your highlights? As you say, it was a challenging time while at FAS. What were some of your highlights though?
Well, I think professionalizing SPL was one, changing into SPL was one. Being able to sign Fandi was another. I'll tell you a little bit about that because he had offers, and to be very candid, he was really on the verge of leaving, and it was very extractive for him. But we sat down with him, explained our project, and felt that, you know, as someone who is such a well-known footballer with a lot more to give in football, I was quite happy to be able to retain his services, and he remains in FAS today. The other highlight was really trying to look at what more we can do for the NFL. We hope, not there yet, but we are slowly embarking on a path where we can make NFL a viable alternative to the SPL, so that we don't have the promotions, the relegations, and a whole league structure. And I think that calls for more attractive football and more competition across the spectrum of the whole league, not just in the SPL.
You spoke about Fandi. Is that the main name that comes to your mind when you think about legends of Singapore football? Obviously, we had the very sad, tragic passing of Salim Moe very recently. Yeah, but you talk about Salim Moe, about Fandi, Sundramoorthy, these guys. What memories do you have when you think back about the special moments in Singapore football?
I grew up supporting the national team, and I made my mother buy the Ovaltine every week, even though we didn't finish the Ovaltine, because inside Ovaltine box, if you remember, you're younger than me, so you may not remember, would be stickers of our national team.
Oh yeah, okay.
Okay, Terry Pasmanathan, there's Razali Saad, Malik. So this really made the team special because they were household names, beyond just Fandi and Sundram. And I think that's what we want to hopefully recreate, that people get to know our players, not just on the field, but personally, get to know them a little bit more, and invest some time in supporting the Lions. That's my message.
Yeah. Okay, let's get into the topic that I think many people watching us would want to hear. So it was.
I know what you're gonna say.
Yeah. When you did announce that, the target for Singapore was to reach the World Cup in 2034, a lot of eyebrows were raised, and plenty of skeptics are out there. First of all, is it a pipe dream, or is it actually something that can be achieved?
We thought about it long and hard, about whether we should do this, what we should do, and eventually we decided that we should come up with something that was bold and ambitious, maybe even very difficult to reach. Some might say impossible. But without a bold, ambitious target, it's not going to be easy to align the pieces together. Now, today, I'm very glad that we've at least started a conversation on it. Some might be a bit more skeptical, as you say, others might be a bit more energized about it. But if today I went to a 9-10-year-old boy and I said, look, if you progress well, you could be the backbone of our challenge for 2034. I think there's something to look forward to. It also focuses all stakeholders behind one project. Whether you're a player, a coach, a parent, or on the commercial side, stakeholders there, or on the facility side, and also sports administration. Everyone comes together, and I'm sure you know, for a small country, we need all of these pieces to be aligned. And so the purpose of doing this, bold as it is and impossible as it may sound, is to align all these pieces, give ourselves an objective and a single-minded focus. I think that's our best chance of doing it.
The reason why I feel that people might be skeptical about it is because of Goal 2010. I was part of that generation. I was a youth footballer with the Singapore national team, and I remember we went to Suntec City and it was a whole presentation about the plan to go to the World Cup in Goal 2010. And I was in that batch, 1985. Obviously, the golden generation of 1984, where we had the likes of Baihaki and we had Shahril, we had Ridwan Muhammad, and they were all part of that. And we were thinking, all right, these guys are pretty good footballers. So, and it kind of fell flat. So, are there lessons that we can learn from that and put it into this?
No, there are. So I'll start with this. That reaching the World Cup is our pinnacle objective, but it is not the only objective of this plan. We also want to be able to use this plan to galvanize the rejuvenation of youth football, grassroots, schools, in our CCs, in our CSCs, baseline, grow the pipeline, grow the base. Secondly, professionalize the coaches. We want to have an ecosystem of coaches who are strong in what they do, talented, professional, and be able to make a career out of it. And not just coaches, but nutritionists, physiotherapists, fitness instructors, everything that makes football tick.
Oh, here it is.
Here. 谢谢你，auntie。
Alright, thank you.
还有鸡啊，在后面啊，我问两盘。谢谢你。
Thank you.
Yeah, professionalizing the whole ecosystem around it and really giving people a target objective. And I think even if we fail to make the World Cup, fingers crossed, we would see a lifting of standards in football. And it's not just a single objective. I think along the way, FAS will announce its plans, but along the way there will be steps. We must make it in Asia, first Southeast Asia, and then be challenging beyond that. There must be a plan. So even if we fall short at the final hurdle, I think we would have hopefully gone some distance. You yourself, you said you were part of 2010, but you ask yourself, in the period when it was announced, I think it was 1996 or 7 that
Around
was announced,
there, yes.
right? Around there.
Yeah.
I think after the Malaysia Cup, a win in 94.
Definitely.
And then we were out of the Malaysia Cup, and then Goal 2010 came about. You ask yourself, in that period of time, without the Malaysia Cup league to take part in, we stagnated for a bit. We came out of the S League. But the product of a successful Goal 2010 is not just in making the World Cup. You look at where we were in the Suzuki with Reddy and the team. We were consistently winning in Southeast Asia, and that didn't come about because of no plan. It was because we tried to put all these pieces in order, in place, with the stakeholders back in 1996-7, and we reached somewhere. We fell short, but we improved Singapore football. And one of our highest rankings in the world was around that period of time. So I think there is merit in looking at the plan not just as a pinnacle objective, but across a spectrum of different objectives as well that we want to achieve.
I think we are also allowed to believe now as Singaporeans because of a certain Joseph Schooling back in 2016, and he's given a lift to the sporting fraternity in Singapore. You know, when we go out and when I'm doing my sports coverage and I'm in a Grab or in a taxi and this person asks me, oh, you're going to the stadium, are you playing? And I will say, no, I'm just going there to cover. And you know, the typical taxi driver thing would be, oh, you know, back in the day, sports was great, we had these heroes. Now, you know, not so much anymore. It's all about education. For you as a Minister for Culture, Community and Youth, how do you change that perception?
Well, I can understand the sentiment, first of all. I think we have to first acknowledge the problem. We've a lot of emphasis on academic qualifications. We look at, wow, auntie,
Wow, we've gone all out here.
oh, 谢谢你. Wow. See, told you.
Oh, thank you. Okay, you need to explain this to me.
Okay. Very straightforward, huh? One of the best roast porks around. This chicken is out of this world. The rice is so flavorful, and it's char-siu. He's given us lots of eggs as well.
Yeah.
And then these are two, he does a very good double boil soup. These are all very authentic Cantonese soups.
Okay.
I think this is the salted vegetable with salted vegetable soup, and this is the watercress.
Okay.
Both are all very traditional Cantonese soups. Try it.
I can't wait. And you need to put the sauces in, or
Okay, come.
I'm going to follow your lead for this.
So what you do is this, I help you. Black sauce, sprinkle about it.
Okay.
Here. And then I think this is the...
careful.
There. Can I get some tissue?
The tissue?
This is the chili. Very spicy though.
It's very spicy.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, come, tuck in.
Alright.
Okay, help yourself with the serving spoon. You can eat and talk.
Yeah, so the sentiment around sports in Singapore and how you try to change that, the perception that, you know, it's not as
Yeah.
important as
I-
education.
So, we have to be realistic about it. I think people will regard education as important. I think you can't fight the system. You can't fight the fact that parents want the best for their children and see education as a longer term guarantee of some measure of success.
Yeah.
I think that is the reality in Singapore. We can't fight it. But I think we can build into the system a pathway for sports. So whether it is taking a bit more time in university or finding a bit of space in the current curriculum and supporting our young kids. And it takes everyone to come together. It's not just government or Sport SG or NSAs, but parents. You look at schooling. Look at the amount of effort that his parents have put into it. You look at some of our other athletes. You need the school, you need the parents, the family structures to come together. And so, bit by bit, we have to be able to persuade parents that there is a viable alternative. There is a serious attempt to support our sportsmen, young athletes, sportsmen, sports girls, and also to then plan a career for them outside of sports. Should they retire at some stage without the benefit of a full academic education, or perhaps get injured along the way and then be left with nothing else but your school career to look back on. So I think we have to assure parents of this. And again, I ask you to look at Lion City Sailors. If you know their program, at 16, 17, they pick the best boys and give them a scholarship, go overseas, study, train, and then come back. So they come back, they will have a degree. What degree it is, I guess they can choose. It may not be one of your top, law, medicine, and engineering kinds of degrees, but something relevant to what they do. But still, at the same time, pursue their sports passion to its fullest extent and give it a shot. If they come back and they realize that at 21, 22 they can't make it, then they can divert their attention more onto the academic side. But I think given the ages of opportunity, 16 to 22, 23, these are the golden periods, and we have to give our kids the best possible shot at the period of time.
This is fantastic, by the way.
So how's the chicken?
I
Solid,
love it.
right?
It's really, really good. I mean, for you to say, for Singaporeans, we are very protective over chicken rice. Like, we have our stall, and that is the place to be for chicken rice. So for you to say that, that's really a high standard to live up to, but it really is very, very good so far.
It's one of the best, really. And even the rice is done uniquely, very flavorful.
Do you go out in search for food when you have the time?
Actually, I do, I'm at a stage where the calories must be worth it.
No wasted calories, yes.
Yeah. So apart from chicken rice, this stall, I like to go to. I'm a big fan of biryani. I love my biryani. So I go. My favorite still, I think, is probably Islamic. Islamic biryani is the lamb there is the best. I also go to what is this place called? Blue Diamond, Blue something.
Okay.
In Serangoon Road.
But what kind of cuisine do you look out for? Like, are you trying to give, anyway, as a family when you go out, are you trying to try something different every single week when you go out and give them a whole different taste and expand the palate in a way?
We try, but we love our hawker food. Very typical Singaporean family. Prawn noodles, char kway teow, chicken rice, local dishes. Favorite.
So you've been in public office for a while.
Wow.
Who has surprised you as to be a real foodie? One session ends.
Oh, I see. My colleague who used to be in the government, but he's since retired last round. Try this. You know Sam Tan?
Yes, I think so, yes.
Sam looks like he's no nonsense, straight-laced, very serious,
Okay.
very learned in everything that he says and does. But when you talk to him about food and drink, he's a completely different person. He knows his food and he knows his drink. And that surprised me a lot.
Look, I do not know what goes in behind those walls. You all have your parliamentary sessions. But is there like food that's laid out for you guys
Yeah,
during
we,
breaks?
we used to have food, but since COVID, now everybody gets a box.
Okay.
You eat out of a box. Changes the experience.
Yeah. But back when it was pre-COVID, what would you have been served?
I mean, we'll get a range of different food in Parliament, and every time there's a promotion, somebody is supposed to blanja everybody, right?
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
so that's a tradition.
So did you have to do one? Or
I
not
had
because
to do.
because of COVID has
When I
stopped
first
you?
joined the government, I had to do one.
Okay.
But now, because we don't have, I haven't done so recently. But we look forward to it because once someone gets promoted, there's a big blanja session, right? And everyone looks forward to it. Different. I think the last one we had, one of our ministers had a very elaborate stall where you had live station, you had, I think it was Lebanese food, Indian, Asian, Western. Only once in a while.
Wow. Tell me what is like your top restaurants in Singapore. If you were to give me a top 3, like you would hang your hat on these 3 being the best to go to in Singapore.
Well, I would say still the local dishes. So I told you about Islamic, I would go there for biryani. My family likes prawn noodles, the soup version, and the best one I think is the one at Jalan Sultan. If you know where Kallang MRT station is opposite, Jalan Sultan is there. And I would also recommend highly Utram Char Kway Teow. Now, if you've not tried it, it's at Hong Lim Food Centre, long queues. And these lovely old couple selling it. They're always sold out by 3 o'clock. The queues are always very long, but best Char Kway Teow.
How badly do you miss Singapore food? I mean, you speak about all these dishes that are so authentic in Singapore. You can find them at the hawker centre, at the coffee shop. When you travel overseas for leisure or for work,
Oh, I miss it. Yeah. I can only tolerate so much of cold sandwiches, pasta, salad, even the meats, steaks and so on, is too much. So I'm a very local palate person.
yeah. Oh, fantastic. In terms of the food here, how did you get to know about this place?
So this is in my ward. This coffee shop, and I got to know the uncle who sells at the coffee shop quite well. And over time, I come and visit them very often. And if you just look at this notice board here, you see this Peranakan looking square with the star.
Yes.
Yeah, it says Makan local.
Yes.
So my branch activists during COVID came up with a plan to raise some money to support these stalls because no one was eating out and the business plummeted. Rental had to be paid. So they raised money and supported these stalls with some money to help them defray the cost. And so each of these stalls that have this little logo, we have visited, we know them, we know their background, and we help them to try and keep afloat, especially during COVID.
In terms of what you're doing for them, how about the athletes who have struggled during COVID? Is there anything in place for these athletes? I mean, for yourself, how have you had to adjust your whole thinking behind what your plans were pre-COVID and then now what you need to do now dealing with the pandemic?
I think in almost every sector today, the elephant in the room is what we do with livelihoods. Even before we can talk about high performance and training overseas, you're going to look at livelihoods. And frankly, in the sports and also in the arts and the culture sector, there are many people who are working in the gig economy, freelancers, self-employed. And we do have to find a way to reach out to them and help. And we've announced 2 packages in Parliament, you may have heard. The Arts and Culture Resilience Package and also the Sports Resilience Package. Predominantly focused on helping these organizations to defray operating costs. You take one example. The Cage came to see me. We all know the Cage very well. They do fantastic facilities, and it's a very important part of our life, our ecosystem, even if they are not part of the NSA and not part of the national facilities. But they support grassroots playing, community playing. So they came to see me and said, look, they have no choice. They can't open up the facilities.
Yeah.
So our operating grants that we give in the packages are designed to help these people. And I think we can't help everyone, and some unfortunately might still have to fall and will still struggle. But we will try and do as much as we can.
Have you pushed for sport to return for the grassroots in terms of when we see on social media, groups of fives and the SPL is back with the full training and
Yeah.
matches. But, the guy who wants to go down to his street soccer court, wants to play with his friends is limited because of the groups of five.
Yeah.
Have you yourself trying to lobby for it to kind of return?
I would like to see that happen. But I think we need to look at it holistically as whether or not the country is safe. I think that's our number one priority. Whether we talk about the bars and the clubs that we are now piloting, or the religious organizations, or the schools, or even in restaurants like this. We have looked at safety of the community as a really overriding concern, because if we take a wrong step and we get clusters in the community again, we may have to shut down and cut back down. And you see the experience of other countries where they had a second or maybe third wave. It's huge. And the fatigue and the complacency that sets in once you get a second, third wave is going to be a big problem. So we've been very measured, very careful. We've not been able to meet the requests of many of our footballers, weekend warriors, myself included, but no choice lah.
Okay.
In this period.
Fair enough. So we've had to postpone the Olympics, right? And it's going to 2021. Hopefully it will go to 2021. 2016 was fantastic. It put Singapore on the map with Joseph Schooling winning gold.
Yeah.
Do you see us primed to get some success again, either through schooling, either through a Cheng Wen, or through another sport, maybe Amita Bertier in fencing perhaps?
I think Bertier has a good chance. I think for a podium finish, I think I would not rule her out. Schooling, of course, is the favourite because he's the defending champion.
Yeah.
But we have a series of other athletes, and I think currently we have about 20, just past 20 athletes who already qualified. So it gives us a lot of excitement, and I hope to see it. I hope to see that we are able to resume training, and I think many of our athletes need the competition.
Yeah.
And they need to travel for this. So hopefully with the new year we can see a bit more of this happen. But there's a bit of a quiet optimism. I think we don't want to put pressure on our athletes, especially Joe. I saw him before he left to wish him the best, and I just told him, don't feel the pressure of the medal on your shoulders. I think much as you now go into 2021 as the defending champion, unlike 2016, I think the pressure will be there. And I think we have to support him by just making sure he does his best. And when he does his best, we're always in the
Do you think we've been a bit hard on him, especially after winning that gold medal, and then we expect the world from him right now, right? And the SEA Games last year wasn't his best, but it was kind of a lead up in priming himself for 2020. But
Duncan, you are an athlete yourself, right? So there are ups and downs. And I think we need, as a country like this, where it's a small country, but the support of countrymen makes a tremendous difference. I'm sure on the pitch when you play, the cheer makes you run a bit faster, tackle a bit harder, jump a bit higher. So the same for Joe and others. I mean, they might be Olympic champions like him, but still the support of Singapore makes a big difference.
back to the food. I ask this for every guest on this episode. What would be your last meal? You could have anything you want. You could have an appetizer, you could have a main course, you could have all desserts. What would be your last meal?
Well, I hope I don't have to make the decision. It's so hard. But my last meal, I think, would probably be char kway teow. The blend of the different pieces coming together into what is otherwise a very simple dish is just amazing. But maybe more importantly is with whom the last meal
Yes.
will be. And I think it has to be family. If I had one last meal, it must be with my family.
Well, good that you mentioned that, because my next question would be, if you could invite anyone to a dinner, in groups of 5, of course, who would it be? Anyone in the world?
Wow, that's a tough one to make. I would say first it must be. I don't know the name of the Icelandic Football Association chief, but I think he would be a key person to talk to about what they have done well in Iceland for a small country and a small population. Second, I think I would. I'm a big fan of Michel Sablon. So I'm still in touch with him.
Okay.
because I believe in what he did for the Belgian team. And if you remember the Belgian team, they came out of a very horrendous Euros in the late 1990s. They re-engineered the team from ground up and came back with, I think it was Euro 2000 that they really floundered. And then they re-engineered the team and they've come back now, and for a while, for a long time, they were world number one.
Yes.
And amongst the best Belgian players in many of the leagues, were the product of that, what he has done. So he'll be somebody I would tap on as well. Sporting wise, obviously you want Joe to be there. Joe is somebody who is mature beyond his age. He is looking at what he can do for sports, even as he's competing at the Olympics. I sat down with him and I had a coffee with him before he left, and he shared ideas with me that really belie his age.
Okay.
He's thinking of the next bound. How can he contribute? What can he do? Not just in swimming or for swimming, but in other areas. And I think that's talent that we need to exploit and harness. So that's 3, right? I'll tell you the other 2 later. We'll Makan first.
Okay, as you think about it, as you said, you've traveled around. You miss local food when you're out. Is there any particular dish that you've seen and you're like, no, that's not for me, and you would never ever touch?
I told you I'm quite a traditional Chinese food at home, right?
Yeah.
But I don't take any of the innards, and it's a cuisine and a delicacy, but not for me. So yeah.
That's it. Is there anything else?
No, otherwise, one of the problems I have is I eat almost anything. Oh,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
One of the best chendol around, huh? See?
It looks fantastic. This might be the best episode yet with the food that we've had. Yeah, so no innards. That's your no, your strict no.
I can't do that. Sorry.
What's been the most exotic thing that you've had, or exotic to you, that you, after you've had it, you're like, can't believe I actually had that?
I think cricket.
Oh, have you tried it?
Yeah.
In Thailand.
But fried to a crisp, so you don't really know it's cricket.
But as you were buying it, what was going through your mind as you were taking a bite?
No, somebody bought it. I just tried it.
Okay. And you just dared yourself to basically.
Yeah, I mean, it looked crunchy now.
Okay.
I think seasoning and chili and pepper was okay.
You are a braver man than I ever will be.
Just once.
Do you understand, like, people who come to Singapore on a holiday and get the durian experience? Are you a durian lover or a durian hater?
I love my durian.
Okay, so for someone, if I ask them if they were in Europe or if they were in America and to try durian, they'll be like, for them that is exotic, for them that's a no-no, but for you love it.
I love it. I think it's the taste and the fragrance and the whole. It engages all your senses. The visual, the sight, the smell, the taste. It just comes all together so nicely. Do I sound like a guinea pig?
Look, we love food. It's fine.
Singaporean pastime, right?
Have to eat. My last question for you: what would you like to leave behind as a legacy when you do call time on being the minister for community culture and youth? What would you like to have left behind? What would be the goals that you have set and you have achieved?
That's a very important question. First, I think we must change the way we look at sports, not just as an athlete, but really as a citizen. How we look at sports. What place sports occupies in our society? I would say it's a valued part of our society. It lifts our spirits. To the armchair sportsmen, we cheer so much when we see our Singapore team, our fellow Singaporean do well in sports. Second, I think we must provide for a longer term ecosystem for sportsmen. We must do more in a few ways. One, to give them a livelihood and career outside of sports when they finish. It can be also in sports as coach, as mentors, and so on. But something to keep them assured that they are not going to want for a livelihood as they contribute to Singapore while they are playing. The second, I think we must also do more for sports, retired sportsmen, from the perspective of honouring them. I think we can do a lot more to recognise and honour our past sportsmen. Personally, I feel that we lose the goodwill and also the support of many of our past sportsmen. I take football, which you know well, as an example. I think we don't engage with them enough.
Yeah.
And so one of the things I started doing when I was at FPS is to build a ex-Lions club. And as Jalan Besar is today being renovated,
Yeah.
I don't know whether they have done it, but one of the things I wanted to put in place was a little clubhouse that is really reserved for national players, ex-national players to come. And to make it a point that every international we have, we invite our ex-national players as guests to our lounge, whether it's in the indoor stadium, the sports hub, or in Jalan Besar, to our lounge, to socialize with them and to really recognize their contributions. And I think we can do more of this, not just in football, but across other sports. The last thing I think we'd like to do in sports is to really engender a spirit of camaraderie among Singaporeans. Through sports, as a form of socializing, as a form of leveling off social inequality, and really as a way of teaching our kids lessons that they can never learn in the classroom. Resilience, how to win graciously, how to lose but to come back and bounce back, how not to be discouraged. What it means when you're on the court, one-on-one against another player on the other side, how do you apply your skills and your mental fortitude to overcome the opponent? These are all lessons that only sports, I feel, can really teach us. And we have to use sports as a medium to transcend just mere playing into something that builds character and makes a person who that person is.
Yeah.
So those are my 3 or 4 objectives, and I hope that I can achieve them.
Well, all the best, and I wish you the best of luck, Edwin. And thank you so much for a great meal. I really need to tuck into this channel
Yes, so am I.
before we call it a day.
So this cendol, Uncle makes a cendol, is unique because this gula melaka is, I think, homemade.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. The secret in any cendol is the gula melaka.
Yes.
You know what I must say? Sedap!
Sedap. This is gold medal worthy. Oh, this is really good. Not just saying that for the camera as well.